Namah Shivaya, sir.
Om Namah Shivaya, sir.
Om
Sadashiva Samarambham
Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam.
Om Sahana
Bhavatu Karvavahai Shanti Shanti.
So, as we had discussed in the last class, and I put up in the groups also, having completed the Bhagavad Gita, so we have completed Tattva Bodha, which is the primary class, and the Bhagavad Gita, which is the schooling, we have completed. Now we are entering the college, which is the Upanishads. And after college, we have to do post-graduation, which will be Brahma Sutras, but that is far away. So today we are looking at the Upanishads, and we will start with the Mundaka Upanishad. But before we start, a little bit of background, much of which you already know because we have discussed in Tattva Bodha also and various classes also, but just as a recap. So for us, Vedas are the primary scriptures. They are 4 in number, and put together, they contain more than some 20,000 mantras. Upanishads have different kind of structures. Some are in prose, some are in verse. Veda also has different kind of structures. Some is in prose, some is in verse. Put together, there are more than 20,000 of these mantras. Every verse appearing in Upanishad, or rather, every verse appearing in the Veda is called a mantra. So technically, when we talk about a verse appearing in, say, a non-Vedic scripture, like let us say Bhagavad Gita, which is Smriti, that is a verse or a shloka. While in the Veda, the Upanishads, and in the Vedas, the Karma Kanda as well as the Jnana Kanda, any verse, whether it be in prose or whether it be in metric form, is called a mantra. So this is the very basis, the Vedas, the 4 Vedas, and based on them we have secondary scriptures like Smriti, and Bhagavad Gita is a Smriti, for example, that is Manu Smriti. Then we have Puranas, then we have Itihasas, and so on. So the whole level of scriptural literature which we discussed in Tattva Bodha. Now for us, Vedas is what is known as Apaurisheya. It is not coming from the human hand. It is supposed to come from the Lord himself. And Lord Brahmaji is supposed to be the one who gives out the Vedas at the same time that the world is born, that he creates the universe. Then what is the role of all the gurus and acharyas? It is only to carry the teaching, not the production of the teaching. Production of the teaching is Easwaran's job. The teacher and the guru, they only carry the teaching to you, just like the water tank and the pipe. Easwara can be compared to the water tank where the water is, and the pipe only brings the water to your house. So all gurus and acharyas, every teacher is basically only the pipe. He doesn't originate the teaching, he just carries the teaching. And this is the Guru Shishya Parampara, beginning from the Rishis. So they have all served as the transporters of this wisdom. They are the trucks which carry this wisdom. Who is a Rishi? The Rishis are those who are said to have a very high level of sattva. Hence the original Sapta Rishis, they didn't have a teacher, if you want to look at it that way, or there are 2 ways. Lord Brahmaji also taught them. But we can say that they had a very high level of sattva and they could directly access the teachings in meditation. So in Brahma Sutra, there is a commentary on what is known as Adhikari Purushaha. Janati iti Rishihi. The one who knows, he is the Rishi, the one who understands. So Rishati is to approach. So the one to whom knowledge is approached. In other words, knowledge is revealed to Ishvara in the form of words. Revealed to Ishvara is the critical, revealed by Ishvara is the critical phrase here. The Rishi has got the information or this knowledge directly from Ishvara, not by any other human being. And therefore, again, that knowledge is apaurishaya, not by human hand. Now we go back to the Dhyana Sulaka which we use, which is very important now because it connects to this particular interpretation. Sadashiva, the eternal Shiva, is the originator of the knowledge. And Shankaracharya Madhyamam is the transporter. Asmat Acharya Paryantam, my teacher is important because he is the person who gives me the knowledge. So the parampara starts from Lord Shiva, goes through various rishis, and Shankaracharya is there in the middle in the whole parampara. From there it comes down to various other teachers and then comes down to my teacher. So I'm from him, Asmat comes to me, and therefore Asmat Acharya Paryantam, up to my teacher. Now this is where we have to supply. Aham Vande, I worship or I pay obeisances starting from my teacher all the way up, Shankaracharya, and all the way up to Lord Shiva. This is the meaning of that particular Shanti mantra which we use, or the prayer which we use. Now Vedas, as we know, are divided into Veda Purva Bhaga, called the Karma Kanda, which is predominantly karma oriented, and Veda Anta Bhaga, which is the Jnana Kanda, predominantly Jnanam oriented. Let us look at what are the lessons that Karma Kanda should teach us. So Karma Kanda deals with 3 types of karma, karma trayam. So one is Kaika karma, which is, let us say, puja, bodily karma. And for Vaidika karma, when you're talking about Vaidika karma, right? So Kaika karma is puja. Then there is Vachika Vaidika karma, which is japa or parayanam. And then there is Manasika Vaidika karma, which is meditation, dhyanam, all these. All these 3 are activities. And we saw in the Bhagavad Gita in the earlier chapters that every karma is capable of producing 2 types of results. One is drishta and one is adrishta. So there is a direct visible result of every karma, which is called drishta karma, because the karma itself is visible and the result is also visible. So there is drishta karma, drishta phalam. And then the motivation behind the karma, the intention behind the karma is to be taken, and that produces adrishta phalam. So drishta karma produces drishta phalam. Adrishta karma, which is the motivation, it produces either punyam or papam, which are called adrishta phalam. So to take an example, when I do annadanam, when I am giving charity by way of food grains, then what is the visible result? The person who receives is happy because his hunger is being satisfied, and that happiness gives me comfort also, makes me feel happy. That is drishta phalam. So there is a drishta karma by giving the food grains, and drishta phalam is the person is becoming happy, so I also become happy. So that is drishta phalam. But Shastra says you are also getting adrishta phalam. And what is that? Depending upon the motivation for which I am giving the thing. Since I am trying to be nice, I will get punyam also. I'm giving the charity of the food grains by way of trying to satisfy the hunger of other people, and therefore I get adrishta punyam also. Okay. So therefore, karma has 3 types of phalam also, trivida phalam. What are they? Artha, kama, and dharma. So artha is anything that contributes to my security. This we all saw in Tattvabodha. Artha generally, the word meaning is money over here. But what is the reason for acquiring that money? Because I want to be secure. And therefore, the meaning taken for the word artha in this context, in the karma context, is security. So everybody looks for security first. And that is why artha is first. Then comes kamaha. After being secure, what do we look for? Entertainment, comfort. So kamaha, desires. Now, when these goals are more or less fulfilled, artha and kama are fulfilled, then I look beyond that because I want punyam, and that is called dharma. So this is the adrishta factor over which I have no control, and this is also called dharma purushartha. When the punyam is generated because of dharmic activities, the future becomes favorable for me. And artha, kama, dharma, all three phalams, all three consequences of karma, most people welcome. But Shastra says that is good. You can enjoy the fruits of your good karma, but remember that this phalatrayam, these three phalams, the three fruits, three types of fruits of karma. What three types? Artha, kama, dharma. All the three types are associated with three types of defects, which we call doshatrayam. Again, we have seen all this in the past, but we will just quickly go over this. What are the doshatrayam? There is dukkha mishritatvam. All pleasures are mixed with pain. So mishri is a mixture. Dukkham is mixed with dukkham, mixed with pain. And you have to supply pleasure mixed with pain, because when you do a karma, you are expecting a particular result which will give you pleasure. And therefore, that pleasure is always mixed with pain. Therefore, dukkha mishri tattvam. What are they? Acquisition involves pain. Acquisition of any object of your desire involves pain. Then maintenance or preservation of that object as with you, it requires pain. So if you buy a car, a brand new Mercedes Benz, there is the effort, the pain involved, the money being spent in acquiring the car. Then there is regular maintenance that also requires effort, that is also pain. And sooner or later, that car will be destroyed, will get old and will have to go away. That going away is also pain. So either the car goes away or maybe I also go away finally. Okay, so everything, the three types of pain are there. Pain involved with acquisition, pain involved with preservation, and pain involved with loss. Therefore, loss of anything acquired is inevitable, and that is the highest amount of pain. That is the first type of dosha of the three defects. The next is atripti karatvam. Any amount of objects you acquire, whether it is artha, kama or dharma, you will never be totally satisfied because you will always want more. Like Oliver Twist, like always wanting more. Why is that so? Because we know, subconsciously at least, that finite plus finite will continue to be infinite. And that sense of, finitude which I have, which is called apurnatvam, that sense of apurnatvam can never be eliminated by any amount of finite acquisitions. And therefore, that is the reason whatever I acquire, I want more. So atripti karatvam, anything which you acquire, any object which you acquire, it can never give you total satisfaction. That defect is called atripti karatvam. And the third defect is bandhakatvam. When you get used to an object, that object becomes capable of causing bondage. Remember, as a human being, I have free will, sway ichha, and therefore I have a choice of accepting or rejecting any object of enjoyment. So whenever I want to say yes, I should remember that at that point, I also have the freedom to say no. So once I say yes to a cigarette, let us say, I know the taste. And then I want to say yes to the next cigarette also. And when I have smoked a few cigarettes, then I'm addicted. And the next yes is not possible. It's not out of free will. It's not possible from free will, but that next yes comes out of addiction. And therefore, addiction becomes a bondage. It becomes something which binds you. So, bandhakatvam. You are no longer capable of being happy without that particular object. That is the bondage. So, all types of karma phalam have these three defects: dukkha mishritatvam, atripti karatvam, and bandhakatvam. And these three doshas, these three defects, are a source of constant fear and anxiety and stress. The point is, how do I get out of this big mess? Veda says there is only one solution. What is that? You have to discover who you are. And to discover who you are, the only solution is Atma Jnanam. Without the knowledge that I am Atma, you will always be a karta, as long as the body is fit to do karma. With this knowledge, what is the difference? When the body is fit to do karma, even if I don't have the knowledge, I can enjoy life doing the karma and enjoying the fruits. But nature ensures that at some point of time, the body is no longer fit to do karma. And therefore, while the taste for enjoyment is still there, I can't do the karmas necessary for me to get that enjoyment. And therefore, at some point of time, I cannot give up kartritvam. But body doesn't permit me to do any karma, and therefore I'm uncomfortable. If you have jnanam, if you have studied the scriptures or understood your real nature, then you can enjoy being a karta as long as the body is fit. And when the body is not fit, you are still comfortable in the knowledge that I am a karta and I always was a karta. This discomfort which comes out of not having this Atma Jnanam is called samsara, and freedom from the discomfort is called moksha. To give this knowledge alone, Jnana Kanda is there. After gaining this knowledge, I can either decide not to do karma or I can do karma. So in Jnana Kanda, as we saw in the Bhagavad Gita, Atma Jnanam is always given in the form of a samavada, a dialogue between the teacher and the shishya. Guru Shishya Samavada. Why? Number one, it is easy for us to understand when it is in the form of question and answer. Secondly, all sadhakas should not seek to gain knowledge through independent effort, and therefore they necessarily go to an Acharya for gaining the knowledge. Therefore, the message being conveyed by the Jnana Kanda through the presentation in the form of the Guru and Shishya is that if you want to get spiritual knowledge, do not try to get independently. Atma Jnanam has to be acquired by going to a teacher. So, Phalatrayam is the positive side of karma, the three benefits, and Doshatrayam is the negative side of karma. Karma has both positive benefits and negative consequences. Because of this combination, the problem is what? Whether I do karma or not, there is always difficulty. And karma kanda does not offer me a solution. Jnana Kanda says there is a solution. What is that? You strengthen yourself internally. You strengthen your mind so that whether you are doing karma or not, you are comfortable. So Veda is trying to bring us to a situation where I don't depend upon any external action or lack of action for comfort. The discovery of inner comfort in myself, whether or not I am doing karma, that is called emotional independence, and that is called moksha purushartha, the fourth purushartha, and that is the subject matter Jnana Kanda. So we will be discussing 10 Upanishads. Upanishads generally are said to be, the earlier on they said that there were 1110 Upanishads. And slowly, most of the Upanishads have vanished. So right now, I think we have about 200 Upanishads unknown. Out of that, 108 are well known. Out of that, 10 Upanishads have been commented upon by Shankaracharya. And those 10 Upanishads we called principal Upanishads or major Upanishads to distinguish them from those which have not been commented upon. Please note that the teaching is the same in both the Upanishads. Therefore, while many people refer to the other Upanishads, the non-commented Upanishads as minor Upanishads, there is really no thing called a major Upanishad or a minor Upanishad. The teaching is the same in both the Upanishads, in the principal Upanishads as well as the minor Upanishads. The principle is the same. The teachings are the same. The only difference is that in the principal Upanishads, the commentary of Shankaracharya is available. And in many of those, sub-commentators are also there. So you can have a very exhaustive study of the Upanishads, of these 10 Upanishads, by referring to Shankaracharya's commentary as well as the commentaries of the sub-commentators. Now look at the word Upanishad. So you can break that into Upa plus Ni plus Shad. Okay. Now Shad means what? Shad means the destroyer of samsara. So samsara nashaka is Shad. The Shad is the destroyer of that discomfort which we call samsara. Upa means Acharya Samipa Gamanam, going close to the Acharya. So Upa refers to that knowledge which can be given or which can be taken only if you approach an Acharya. So Acharya Samipe Gamanam, going close to the Acharya, you must get the knowledge. Which knowledge? Shad, the knowledge which is the destroyer of samsara. Now, there is a traditional rule that after approaching the teacher, we should ask for this knowledge. And there is a very, strict rule. It's written in stone, so to say. The Acharya will not give the knowledge unless it is asked for. And in fact, Shastra says very specifically that this knowledge should not be given to a person who has not asked for it and asked for it with reverence. So if you remember the 18th chapter, the last few verses, we talked about to whom the knowledge should not be given. So Shad and Upa. And the last one is Ni. So Ni stands for Nishchaya Jnanam. One should receive the teaching from the teacher until it is Nishchaya. Until the Atmanganam is definite, clear and free from doubt and free from my self-judging habits, miserly habits. One has to reach the knowledge from the Acharya for a sufficient period of time. Now there is also another meaning. Upanishad can also refer to the very text, the textbook which you are reading, Mundaka Upanishad. That is also called the Upanishad. Why? Because there is a sambandha between the two. There is a connection between the two. And that connection is what we call Pratipadaka, Pratipadya Sambandha. Pratipadaka is the text, Pratipadya is what is revealed. So the revealed connection is Pratipadaka, Pratipada Sambandha. This is the connection between the Upanishad and the subject matter, which is what? Brahma Vidya. Then you can ask, what is the connection between Brahma Vidya and Moksha? So between the text and Atmajnanam, there is the revealed Sambandha. The Upanishad is the revealer, Atmajnanam is revealed. Is there any connection between Atmajnanam and Moksha? So we say there is a sadhana sadhya sambandha. One is the sadhana, the means, and one is the sadhyam, what is achieved through the means. Therefore, the connection between Upanishad and Atmavidya is revealer revealed, Pratipadaka Pratipadya. The connection between Atmavidya and Moksha is means and attained object, sadhana sadhi sambandha. Therefore, only one who is interested for the sake of Atmavidya will undertake the sadhana which is required. If you want moksha, that moksha is sadhyam for you. And for that sadhyam alone, you will undertake the sadhana of studying and trying to get Atmavidya. Otherwise, Atmavidya has no value for a person. If you don't want moksha, if you are not interested in the concept at all, Atmavidya has no value. As we saw in Bhagavad Gita, there are two types of students which Krishna talks about. The serious qualified student and the casual student. Upanishad is meant for the first category, the serious qualified student, otherwise called adhikarin, otherwise called sadhana chatushta sampanna adhikari. We saw that in Tattva Bodha. He is the person who has understood that the self-conclusion which we all make initially, I am finite, I am limited, that self-conclusion is wrong and needs to be corrected by knowledge. This he has understood. And for that, he knows that he has to go to a teacher, and this knowledge is gained by studying with a teacher. This is samvada. And in the Upanishads, you get Upanishads which have only one teacher and one student. Upanishads which have one teacher, many students. Upanishads which have many teachers, many students. All of them are individual samvadas. So a group of such samavadas put together in a text is called an Upanishad. And as I said, originally the 1,100 or 1,080 people say Upanishads were available. Many of them have been lost. 200 are still available, out of which 10 have been commented upon. And Upanishads are divided into two broad categories, Mantra Upanishads and Brahmana Upanishads. So this Brahmana Upanishads are Upanishads written in prose form. Mantra Upanishads are Upanishads written in verse form. There is a metric form written. You can chant it. Chanting is possible in those Mantra Upanishads. Brahmana Upanishads are in prose form, and while people do chant, there is no meter to it. There is no defined meter. So you just chant it as musically as you can, or as pleasantly as you can. And Brahmana Upanishads are said to be commentary on the Mantra Upanishads, explaining in detail what has been said in the Mantra Upanishads. Now I gave a small little verse explaining which you have to actually have to commit to memory, because once you commit that to memory, then only you will be able to remember all the 10 Upanishads. And it's a very nice verse. Isha kena kato prashna munda manduke taitrehi aitirehi chandoyam brahadaranyakam tatha. So there are 10 Upanishads. The first one is Isha Upanishad from Shukla Yajurveda. In this particular, not in the way we are studying. Okay, we are studying differently, but in this particular verse which I have given you, the first one is Isha Kena Katho Prashna. So Isha Upanishad, which appears in the Shukla Yajurveda. Then there is Kena Upanishad, which appears in the Samaveda. Then there is Katho Upanishad, which is again from the Yajurveda, but from a different branch called Krishna Yajurveda. So Yajurveda has two branches, Shukla and Krishna. Isha is from Shukla Yajurveda. Katho is from Krishna Yajurveda. Then there is Prashna Upanishad, which is from the Atharvana Veda, or also called Atharva Veda. The Mundaka which we are studying now is also Atharvana Veda. Mandukya which we shall study also Atharvana Veda. Taittiriya which we shall study is Krishna Yajurveda. Aitareya Upanishad, which we shall also study, is Rig Veda. Chandogya Upanishad is Samaveda. And Brihadaranyaka Upanishad is Shukla Yajurveda. These are the 10 commented upon by Shankaracharya. Out of them, if you look, there are 2 which belong to Shukla Yajurveda, 2 which belong to Krishna Yajurveda, 2 which belong to Samaveda, 3 which belong to Atharvana Veda, and 1 which belongs to Rigveda. So when we study all this, you would have a very good sampling, very good understanding of the Jnana Kanda part of the Vedas. Now, many of the Upanishads, like Chandogya, they also contain a lot of Karma Kanda. Taittiriya also contains a lot of Karma Kanda. So when we do those in Upanishads, you will find that you have a sampling of what Karma Kanda also says. Okay. Now coming to Upanishads, all Upanishads start with Shanti Patha, a prayer for peace of mind or a tranquility of mind in order to enable you to study. As we said, Mundaka belongs to Atharvana Veda, and Mundaka is a mantra Upanishad, which means it can be chanted. The Atharvana Upanishads all start with a particular mantra called Bhadram Karnebhihi Shrunuyama Devaha. So we'll come to that when we start. In the meantime, a few more Vedic concepts which are necessary for us to understand Upanishads properly.
Raviji, may I ask a question?
Please go ahead.
What does Mundaka mean?
Mundaka basically means the person who has shaved his head. So originally when Mundaka, before starting to study the Mundaka, you're supposed to carry a small pot with some fire on your shaved head. That is a ritual. From that ritual that the word Mundaka is derived.
Anyway, I'm glad I asked because I'm qualified for that. I have no hair.
That is true, but you don't want to carry a hot pot of coal on your head, right? So we'll excuse you from that.
Raviji, I also want to ask. Can I ask now?
Please, please.
Okay. So, you said Upa is Acharya Samipe Gamana and Ni is Nishchaya Jnanam. What was Shad?
Shad is the destroyer.
No, in Sanskrit?
Shad. Shad means destroyer of, and it's just destroyer. The destroyer of what? Destroyer of samsara.
No, there's no phrase in Sanskrit for the Shad.
No, there's nothing which, what destroys? No, it's just the destroyer of samsara. You can actually invent it if you want. What destroys samsara? That is Shad. Shad is a destroyer basically of samsara, of ajnanam, all these things.
So the literal meaning of Shad is the destroyer.
The destroyer.
Okay. And one more. So in that Dukkha Mishri Tattvam, we always speak about pain of acquiring, maintenance, and loss. And once long back, you had told the Sanskrit words, I think Prapti, and then the last one was Nasha.
Nashaha and Praptihi, yes. Praptihi means acquisition. Nashaha means destruction.
So Prapti Dukkham it will be, or how?
No, which particular part are you referring to?
Pain of acquiring becomes
Dukkha for acquiring. Prapti Dukkham.
Praptasya
Dukkham. Praptasya Dukkham. The Dukkham which is there in acquiring. Praptasya.
Praptasya Dukkham.
Yeah.
And what is it called for maintenance?
Sthiti. Sthiti is maintenance.
Sthiti.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So.
Can I add one more thing?
Yeah.
So in the last one, Bandhakatvam, you were talking about the smoking example, how a person gets addicted to smoking. And Swami Chinmayananda has a very nice quote. Can I just share that?
Yeah, of course, of course.
He said, every time you smoke, you are not exercising your right to smoke. You are losing your freedom to not smoke.
That's correct. That's very nice. That's very nice. That's why I said You no longer act from your free will. So
Yeah.
every time you smoke, you are digging into you're cutting down the strength of your willpower.
Yeah.
Okay. So now the next topic which we should look at is something called Anubandha Chatushtayam. Remember, these are not there in the Bulam, right? These are all not part of the Upanishad itself. It's all part of trying to understand. It comes from Shankara Bhashyam. So there is a small little verse which we will chant. I can put it up later if you want. Anubandha Chatushtayam. Chatushtayam, as you know, means 4. You should know that because we talk about Sadhana Chatushtayam also, right? So Anubandha Chatushtayam is the connection. So that what is the connection? Now here I will chant it out for you. Adhikari cha vishayah sambandhascha prayojanam shastraramba phalam proktam anubandha chatushtayam. So the one who gets the benefit of Shastra aramba phalam, the one who gets the benefit of phalam, of Shastram, is a person who has Anubandha Chatushtayam, who has these 4 qualifications. What are they? Adhikari, Vishayaha, Sambandhaha, Prayojanam. So let's look at that word by word. Adhikari, we have already seen in Tattvabodha. It means a person who is qualified to study the Shastram. And there we called it Sadhana Chatushtaya Sampannaha Adhikari. The person who is got Viveka, Vairagyam, Shat Sampatti and Mumukshutva. The 4 qualifications. He is what is meant by Adhikari in this verse. And Tattvabodha we call him Sadhana Chatushtaya Sampanna. Having those 4 qualifications, Viveka, Vairagya, Shat Sampatti and Mumukshutva. That Chatushtaya should not be confused with this Chatushtaya. Okay, this Chatushtaya is 4. Adhikari, Vishaya, Sambandha, Prayojanam. The Adhikari Chatushtaya is Viveka, Vairagya, Shat Sampatti and Mumukshutva. So a person who has done a lot of Karma Yoga and therefore is Mala Nivritti. He has removed Mala, impurities of the mind, and he has done a lot of meditation, Upasana. So he has no Vikshepa. Tossing of the mind is not there. And therefore he has Chitta Shuddhi. And therefore Ekagrataha, one-pointed mind. Plus, he adds, Shankara adds, he is endowed with the ability to reason. Yukti, he is also there. So Yukti, he should be there. Samarthaha, ability should be there. And a razor-like Buddhi should be there. Intellect should be there. These are the qualifications of an Adhikari. And I'm sure all of you all have it. So we'll not expand on that. You should know yourself by now. Second one is what? Vishayaha. The subject matter of the study is what? Atman or Brahman. The third one is Prayojanam. The immediate benefit of the study is what? Atmagyanam. Atmagyanam is Brahmagyanam. Brahmagyanam, another name is Moksha. So the Prayojanam of the study is what? Moksha only. And then we come to Sambandha. Sambandha means the connection, the relationship. And Sambandha is always between 2 things. And the nature of this relationship depends upon what are these 2 things. For example, we saw the first one, the text and the subject matter. So Grantha and Vishaya. What is the connection? We saw Pratipadaka Pratipadya Sambandha. The text is the Pratipadaka, the revealer of the Pratipadya, the Vishaya, which is Atmajnana. Therefore, in Sanskrit, Grantoho Vishayoho Madhye, between the text and the subject, Pratipadya Pratipadaka Sambandha Asti. Between the text and the subject, the connection which exists is called Pratipadya Pratipadaka, revealer, revealed connection. A little bit of Sanskrit from now on, okay? Now, that is one pair. Take another pair, Vishaya, the subject matter, Atmagyanam, and Prayojanam, the result. So the Vishaya, remember, is not Moksha. The Vishaya is Atmagyanam. the prayojanam is moksha, and therefore jnana phalayoho madhye, between the atmajnanam and the phalam of the atmajnanam, janaka janya sambandha asti. Is the one which gives the father janakaha, and one is janya, that which is born. And therefore the connection is, one is the father and one is the child. The atmajnanam is the father and moksha is the child. Prayojanam is moksha. Then you can take, why I am giving these examples is try to bring out what are the different types of sambandha which exist. So you can have a connection between the adhikari, the student, and the vishaya, the subject matter. Then in Sanskrit it is called adhyetr adhita sambandha. The one who studies and that which is studied. That is a sambandha. Generally, however, we can always say, whenever we use the word sambandha, we are normally referring to what? Grantoho vishayoho madhye sambandha. The pratipadaka pratipadya sambandha. Revealed, revealer relationship. That is what we generally mean by using the term sambandha in this Anubandha Chatushtayam. Why is this Anubandha Chatushtayam necessary? Because it establishes a connection between the student and the teaching. Why is that necessary for a teacher to know? Because he has to understand what type of student is there, and therefore he has to understand what type of teaching is needed. Is it going to be Karmakanda teaching? Is it going to be Jnanakanda teaching? It is to be understood. How to understand? Are these four Anubandhas? Are these four Anubandhas the same for Karmakanda and Veda or the Jnanakanda, or Purva Veda and Vedanta? Are they the same? Let us look at it. So take the first Sambandha, the Sadhana Sadhya Sambandha. What is the connection between Brahma Vidya and Moksha? The connection is Sadhana Sadhya. One is the means, one is the end, attained objective. Brahma Vidya and Moksha have Sadhana Sadhya Sambandha, means and end. One doesn't, once you get the knowledge, Brahma Vidya, there is no more activity necessary. The Jnanam gives moksha directly. It is like saying that when I cut the banana, then I get 2 pieces of banana. You don't need to do anything more than cutting the banana to get the 2 pieces. Cutting the banana is equal to getting 2 pieces of banana. Similarly, getting Jnanam is equal to getting moksha. No other activity is necessary. Okay. Now look at, that is as far as the Jnanakanda is concerned. Now look at the Karmakanda. Let us say that you want to do something called Jyotishtama Homam or Jyotishtama Yajna. That Yajna is used to ensure that you go to heaven, go to Swarga. So in the Veda, in the Purva Veda, you have complete details on how to perform the Jyotishtama Yajna, what kind of bricks are to be used, from where the bricks are to be made, what are the mantras to be chanted, what type of priests are required, how many priests are required, what is the offering, everything is laid down. Okay. So Jyotishtoma Vidya is given. Okay. Now if I know from the Veda how to perform the Jyotishtoma Vidya, Jyotishtoma Yaga, is it sufficient to give me Swarga? No. Why? Because after knowing how to perform that Jyotishtoma Yajna, I have to actually do the Yajna to get the Prayojanam. The Karma Vidya, the knowledge of how to do the ritual, does not give me the Prayojanam, Swarga. One needs to perform the Yajna, and only by performing that Yajna, how do I perform? because of the karma vidya, the knowledge which I have got. So there are two parts involved. First, getting the knowledge, then implementing that knowledge and performing the yajna. So remember, in the case of Jnana Kanda, getting the knowledge is all that is required. In case of Karma Kanda, you have to get the knowledge and then put that knowledge into activity. So one inspires into activity. This is the first, inspires to do action. One takes you to action, one takes you to non-action. This is the first difference. Therefore, the sambandha there is different. The sambandha for Jnana Kanda is different from the sambandha for Karma Kanda. Okay. So first, sambandha is different. Now take Vishaya, subject matter. In the Mundaka itself, you will see that the subject matter is differentiated. The Mundaka Upanishad, the chapter number 1, talks about both Purva Veda and Vedanta by calling them Aparavidya and Paravidya. Aparavidya refers to the lower knowledge, which talks about the Purva Veda. Paravidya refers to higher knowledge, which talks about Vedanta. And in this chapter, the karma and its limitations are discussed. And the understanding is that Karma Kanda will not remove Ajnanam, will not remove ignorance. Therefore, whoever follows Karma Kanda will continue to be spiritually ignorant. And there is a mantra, Avidyaya mantare vartamanaha. Karma Kanda is rooted in avidya and perpetuates avidya. Therefore, Karma Kanda is as good as ignorance. And therefore, it says, Avidyayam. Karma Kanda cannot eliminate avidya dosha. And if you cannot eliminate the avidya, then all the defects associated with avidya, like samsara, they will remain. This is the defect of Karma Kanda. Okay, then that's why it says, Avidyaya mantare vartamanaha. People are steeped, they are rooted in avidya. And this Karma Kanda avidya, Vidyayam, Karma Kanda knowledge is defined by saying that it is apara knowledge, inferior knowledge, because it cannot destroy Ajnanam. And the Mundaka very specifically says Rig Veda Adi. All the 4 Vedas are basically apara Jnanam only. This is given in the 5th mantra. It says all the 4 Vedas which you are going to study is nothing but apara Jnanam. But we have to understand it as the Karma Kanda part of the Veda is apara Jnanam. And therefore, Karma Kanda is confined only to Vidhi and Pratisheda. Karma Kanda just says, do this and do that. Vidhi is mandate for doing. Pratisheda is mandate for not doing. Karma Kanda will rarely give you a reason. It will only instruct. Do this, do that. If you do this, this is the phalam. If you don't do this, this is the phalam. Therefore, when I say that Veda will tell me only tell me what is good for me, it is based on absolute faith, absolute Shraddha. And this, when I do what Veda tells me, what does it make me? It gives me the status of a Karta. Purva Veda, it keeps on telling me, do this ritual, do that ritual, you'll get this benefit, you will get that benefit. And if I'm a follower of the Purva Veda, what is going to happen to me? I will never get out of the status of Karta. If I never get out of the status of Karta, I will never get out of the status of Bhokta also. Karma Kanda never lets me question the doership, the Kartritvam. Kartritvam, Karma Kanda reinforces. There is no question of my ever saying I am not a Karta. Okay. And after having talked about Karma Kanda, then the Upanishad talks about the sadhana for Brahma Vidya. And This sadhanam is what? Para praptihi. It's an adjective to Brahma Vidya, which means for acquiring Brahman, there is a sadhana. And before that, what must I do? I must get the benefits of karma kanda, which is what? Developing vairagyam towards all Vishaya. And therefore, the entire karma kanda is for the purpose, if you have to put only one purpose to karma kanda, it is to ensure that you develop vairagyam. And before getting this vairagyam, if you come to jnana kanda, there is going to be no benefit. Because why? In karma kanda, you are always dealing with sadhana and sadhya. Some sadhana to get something. But when you come to jnana kanda, you understand that Brahman is neither sadhanam nor sadhyam. Brahman cannot be said to be the instrument, nor can it said to be something which is attained. Why? Because it is nitya siddham. It is always attained. It is not that you were not Brahman before. You don't have to do anything and become Brahman. So remember that all karma is defined as karaka janya kriya. Right? Just as the karakas, the factors of action are not sufficient, from those factors of action, when they come together, the karma should emerge. So that's why they call karaka janya kriya. Karaka means factors of action, like your body, your mind, the instruments which you use, all those are factors of action. All these factors of action, when they come together and start functioning, then only the karma is born. So karaka plus the functions of the karaka. Karaka plus karaka vyapara is called kriya, the action, and the result of that action is called the phalam. From this discussion, what emerges? The subject matter of karma kanda is that phalam which emerges out of the functioning of the karakas. So karma kanda subject is karaka kriya phalam. And jnana kanda subject is karaka kriya phala vilakshanam. Neither is not the subject of karma kanda at all. And the knowledge which we get from the jnana kanda, Shankara says, can be acquired only through the grace of a teacher. And the grace of a teacher is what? Systematic teaching according to the parampara, nothing else. Therefore, in the Vishaya also, in the subject matter also, there is a difference between Karma Kanda and Jnana Kanda. So we saw, in the first one, Sambandha, there is a difference between Karma Kanda and Jnana Kanda. And in the subject matter also there is a difference. Now take Prayojanam. So Mundaka repeatedly talks about the Prayojanam. And what is the Prayojanam? The one who becomes Brahman becomes, one who knows Brahman becomes Brahman. Brahma Veda, Brahmaiva Bhavati. There is the Mundaka in a later chapter. The one who knows Brahman, understands Brahman, knows that he is Brahman, indeed becomes a Brahman. So Veda here means, Brahma Veda means the one who knows. It is a verb, knowing. Right? So it is not a Kriya Karaka Phalam. Because the very knowledge itself enables me to claim that I am Brahman. Whereas Karma Kanda can give what? Only Chitta Shuddhi. Therefore, the Prayojanam is different. In Jnana Kanda, the Prayojanam is Moksha. In Karma Kanda, Prayojanam is Chitta Shuddhi. But Prayojanam is also different. And you take the fourth one, which is Adhikari. So we have gone in reverse order. The first one we took a Sambandha because it required a bit more explanation. Now we are looking at the Adhikari. Who is the Adhikari for Karma Kanda? The one who wants Chitta Shuddhi. Or he wants Punyam, so to generate some, more material benefits or going to the next world, things like that. So the Adhikari for Karma Kanda is the one who wants Punyam or Chitta Shuddhi, while the Adhikari for Jnana Kanda is the one who has Chitta Shuddhi. Sadhana Chatusha Sampannaha. because for him, he wants moksha. The adhikari for karma kanda wants chitta shuddhi. The adhikari for jnana kanda wants moksha. So he already has sadhana chatushta sampatti. He's already got chitta shuddhi. And therefore, all the four anubandhas are different. And therefore, you can say that karma kanda and jnana kanda are not one pramanam. They are two different pramanams. Both are pramanams, but they don't have the same end. They are not one and the same pramanam. But since both are part of the Veda, karma kanda and jnana kanda are both part of the Veda, Veda itself is called pramana. Okay, now we talked about Upanishad, right? Upa means the one who goes. And Shankara gives the derivation separately. He says Upa ni plus Shat. So Upa means the one who goes near the Acharya, Samipe Gamanam. He is a Vidyarthi, he is a Shishya. Ni is Nitaram, with intensity, wholeheartedly. So here, Shankara differs from our interpretation of Nishchaya Jnanam. Shankara says Ni means Nitaram, intensity, intensely, with wholeheartedly, he goes to the teacher. Okay. Now Shad. Shad has three meanings, according to Shankara, right? One is Visharanam. The first meaning of Shad is Visharanam. And Visharanam means the weakener, that which weakens, or that which destroys. And Shankara says here that you take Upani, the first part, means the person who has gone wholeheartedly near the Guru for the purpose of acquiring knowledge, and then you supply Prarabdha Karma. So Upani, Prarabdha Karma, Visharanam. The one which weakens the Prarabdha Karma or which destroys the Prarabdha Karma, that is Upanishad. Therefore, Brahma Vidya is the weakener of the Prarabdha Karma of the student, or the destroyer of the Prarabdha Karma of the student. Destruction should not be taken as literally, because Prarabdha Karma is necessary for the body to remain. Okay, so you have to understand it as knowing that I am not the body is the weakener or destruction of Prarabdha Karma. Body will continue to remain as long as Prarabdha Karma is there. That is the first meaning, Visharanam. Upani, Visharanam, you have to supply Prarabdha Karma. The second meaning that Shankara gives is Avasadhanam. So he says this is similar to Visharanam. You can, Avasadhanam literally means to destroy, and here you can supply Sanchita Karma and Agami Karma. So Shad means Sanchita Karma and Agami Karma, destroyer of the student. Destroyer of the Sanchita and Agami Karma of the student. These two destroy what? Destroy the karma, preventing sorrow, and therefore they can be taken as dukkha nashaha. That is, they are tools to destroy sorrow. What is that? The first one is destruction of prarabdha karma. Taken together, they mean that which destroys the sanchita, the prarabdha, and the agami of the shishya is Brahmavedya. And together they are dukkha nashaha. And third meaning Shankara gives is Shad means gamanam. Takes you to the teacher, takes you to moksha. So he says very clearly, avidya adi samsara karanam atyantam vinashyati. It completely destroys the samsara karanam, like adhyasa, etc., which are caused by avidya. All products of avidya are destroyed completely. That is the third meaning, which is what gamanam, taking you to moksha. And therefore, this is the meaning of the Upanishad. Iti Upanishad. Taken together, these three are the meanings of the word Upanishad. So just one, small point here. Whenever you see the word Upanishad in a text, you would have seen that in some of the texts, it is Upanishad with a D at the end. In some of the texts, it is Upanishad with a T at the end. So what is the difference? Why is it that somewhere it is Upanishad and somewhere it is Upanishad. So in Sanskrit grammar, there is a rule that whenever the Shat appears at the end of any word, it's not just Upanishad. At the end of any word, if Shat appears, there's a rule. If that word is the last word, which is not followed by any other word, or followed by a soft word. So those who know Sanskrit grammar would know the soft word. For example, bha. Bha is a soft word. Okay. So if it is followed by no word or a soft word, then you pronounce the. So it is Upanishad. Whereas if the Shat is followed by a hard alphabet, for example, pra, then it becomes Upanishad. So Upanishad, Upanishad, both are correct. Then the last question is, this Upanishad, does it mean the words of the text, Shabda Pramanam, or does it mean Shabda Pramana Janya Prama, the knowledge born out of the words? Upanishad, does it refer to the words of the textbook, or does it refer to the knowledge which is born out of the words? And Shankara says very clearly that you should understand it as Shabda Pramana Janya Prama alone. Understand it as referring to the knowledge born out of the text. Why? Because the knowledge gives moksha, not the words. Otherwise, anybody reading the words would get moksha. Okay. And therefore, if you can do that by just reading the words, why do you want to waste years and years going through classes? Therefore, the Vachyartham of Upanishad is Vritti Jnanam, the thought, the knowledge born out of the words. And this has to be carefully understood. The Lakshyartham can be taken as the words itself. But the Mukhya Artham, the Vachyartham, the primary meaning is knowledge born out of the words of the Upanishad, which is the Vritti Jnanam born out of the words of the Upanishads. So with this, we'll stop here. Any questions?
Hello, Ravi ji.
Yes, Nataraj.
Why is it called Mundaka?
I just finished telling you.
No. I mean, shaved head is fine.
Yeah.
But is there any other reason? Because I'm sure I can read any other Upanishad being having a shaved head. So why only?
No, this is called Mundaka because of that reason. But all other Upanishads have different reasons for the names. It is not that Upanishad is called Mundaka Upanishad. This particular Upanishad is called Mundaka Upanishad.
I know.
Because the ritual which is done before you do it. Before you study this Upanishad, this particular ritual is gone around. That is why it's called Mundaka.
For other Upanishads, you don't need to do this ritual then.
You don't normally. And if you take this as the first one, then you do the ritual and then you're qualified for all other rituals, all of the Upanishads also.
Okay.
Om sir,
Yes, Sundar.
we can also take it as that the contents of this Upanishad remove the ignorance.
No, that is the interpretation which we make. We don't do that. We go by what is the what they call traditional interpretation of the Acharyas. Remember, never to make your own interpretations.
Yes, sir.
So is there any sequence in which the Upanishad should be ideally studied?
Different teachers follow different sequences. We follow a particular sequence which is followed by my guru, by Swami Dayananda also. So we start with Mundaka, then we go to Katha, Kena and all that. But you don't have to worry because what we are doing is following in order of difficulty. The simpler Upanishads we are following first and then going on. A lot of people start with Isha Upanishad, but Isha is if you really start to study, it's one of the most difficult Upanishads, and therefore we take it last, in the last few Upanishads. So we'll be doing all 10, so there should not be worry. And an extra one called Kaivalya Upanishad also. So 11 we'll be doing in totality.
Om Acharya ji.
Yes, June.
So we studied that there are two types of Upanishads, the Mantra Upanishads and the Brahmana Upanishads.
Yeah.
And we mentioned that it is thought that the Brahmana Upanishads are commentaries on the Mantra Upanishads.
That is what is said, yes. For
Can you
example,
give some-
Brihadaranyaka is a commentary on Isha. Rashna is a commentary on Mundaka, and so on.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Raviji?
Yeah.
Just now you said that Vachyartham is the knowledge born out of the words, that is the Vritti Jnanam.
Yeah. Primary
And-
meaning of the word Upanishad.
And Lakshyartham are the words themselves.
Are the text. So if somebody says this is the Upanishad, he is using the word as Lakshyartha.
Shouldn't it be the other way around?
No.
Vachyartham is the direct meaning of a word.
Vachyartham is the direct meaning of a word. And if you look at the explanation we gave, what is it? That knowledge which destroys samsara.
Okay.
So upa, ni plus shad. That has to be taken as Vachyartham.
Okay. And so the Lakshyartham, the implied
Lakshyartham
meaning
is,
is
yeah, when somebody says, this is the Upanishad. So that's not
Right.
Vachyartham, that is Lakshyartham.
Yes, got it.
Okay.
Raviji, yeah, this is Giri. I have a
Yes, Krishnamurtiji, yes.
question. Usually Upanishads follow a story format. Does Mundaka also follow that kind of a format?
I don't think, see, everything you will find there will be a story. That is just for making it easy for us. But it's not the intention of the Upanishad to follow a story format. For example, in Kena Upanishad, you get the teaching first, and then you get the story in the last. So that intention is not there. Okay, I hope it's not been too heavy, because we gave a, more or less background to be understood. We'll start with the Shanti Mantra in the next class.
Raviji.
Yeah.
How can it be heavy? We all feeling lightheaded after the shaved head.
I think the shaved head is basically to make you feel a little light, so that you don't take yourself so serious. Yeah. Okay. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamada Purnam Eva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Tat Sat. Om Namah Shivaya. Thank you for your patience.
Om Namah Shivaya.
Thank you.